Ladies and gentlemen, can we rise for the national anthem?
Arise, O compatriot, Nigerians all obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Thank you. You may please be seated. Before I bring back the chair, sir, while the national anthem was going on, I was reminded of a very funny scenario where someone was singing the patriotic song of King Sunny Ade. And please don't take this personally. It's just something to lighten up the mood. And the person said, Nigeria iti gbogbo wa ni, kó má gbọ́dọ̀ bàjẹ́. And somebody responded, tó ti bàjẹ́ tán. And then the person said, Torí kò sí ibòmíràn tí a lè lọ. And the person said, Amen kọ́. The singer said, Àjò lè dàbí ilé. Then the guy said, Ẹ jẹ́ n lọ ná. Ẹ jẹ́ ká sowọ́pọ̀ ká fi mọ̀ ṣọ̀kan. Gbé kémi gbé. The young man said, Apá ń ro mí. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, for the benefit of those who didn't understand that, it was King Sunny Ade's song where he said, this Nigeria belongs to all of us. It must not spoil. And the young man said, it don't spoil, finish now. Then he got to the part where he said, because there's no other place where we'll go to. And the man said, what about America? I can as well go there. So he also got to that part. He said, because there's no place like home. The man said, oh, please, let me go first. Let me experience it myself, then I will come back. And after that, he said, so let's lift up Nigeria in one accord. And the young man said, please, my hands are aching. Okay, it's now time to take the welcome address from the board chair of Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, Professor Rokpo Shekoni. Please welcome him very well.
Good evening, everybody. It is my privilege to welcome you on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism. I want to start by giving a special welcome to the judges. I know what we must have done to your time, and especially those who are returning judges. I want to thank you for your usually good job. I also want to welcome the award finalists and those that are being honored today. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen of the press, distinguished guests, and our regular ladies and gentlemen. The award is an annual event which had its maiden edition in October 2005. And this award presentation is held on December 5, traditionally, which is the World Anti-Corruption Day and the eve of the Human Rights Day. to acknowledge best practices in investigative journalism and call attention to its significance for attaining good governance, accountability, social justice, and democracy. Permit me to run through a few highlights of this year at the center. Earlier in the year, we organized our annual lecture on the 13th of July, which is the birthday of Wole Soyinka, the person whose name this center carries with a lot of reverence. The lecture discussed how to make sure that governance becomes accountable or more accountable to the governed in our country. It was titled Rethinking Credible Elections, Accountable Democracy, and Good Governance in Nigeria. Obiageli Ezekwesili was the keynote speaker at the event. Or sometimes in the year we held series of report women or seminars in which we trained practicing journalists about gender policy and practices in the country. And one of the highlights of this year is the appointment of Mrs. Muturayo Alaka as the executive director of the center. She is the second director of the center after Dr. Olorunyomi himself. I want to congratulate this year's finalists especially. Apart from tonight's awards, the center appreciates the efforts of the finalists and their resolve to do investigative reporting in our own civic space. We appreciate the risks involved for journalists doing investigative journalism in the context in which we are at present. For example, between 2005 and 2015, there were 70 media violations. And between 2015 and now, there have been 265 media violations. This illustrates the risks you have all taken in the interest of the rule of law and press freedom in our country, and we appreciate this. Originally, we planned to give a special award on integrity and anti-corruption to Vice President Osinbajo, but you must have read in the media that this is now on hold and has been moved to another time. However, the Human Rights and Anti-Corruption Defender Award will today go to Amnesty International, Nigeria. The organization will be honored for its remarkable voice against human rights violations and oppressive laws, and its efforts to defend freedom of expression in our country. There can be no better time to give this award, given the tension in the air about raging controversies between the government and the media on the importance of freedom of expression and the rule of law as the only way to consolidate democracy. The Center is also privileged to honor today one of those who were present at the beginning of this initiative to support the cause of the Center on fostering the role of the media in stimulating and sustaining democratic governance. And this is going to veteran photojournalist Sumi Smart Cole. He will be honored with the Lifetime Award for Journalistic Excellence. He has been outstanding in his contribution to journalism. His pictures told many tales in the military era. He also dedicated good time to mentoring young photojournalists. Before I take my seat, it is important to appeal to fellow citizens across class, faith, and nationality about the need to remain steadfast on sustaining the democracy attained in the country at great sacrifice in 1999. Our culturally diverse country needs democracy more than most people can imagine. Democracy requires that political leaders and followers show respect for and tolerance of different perspectives, values, without which electoral democracy may not achieve its most important goal, namely open and accountable governance capable of providing the common good to all citizens and of reaping advantage from the multiple talents offered by people in our country. The love of democracy derives from the commitment to make it happen at all times. Again, I welcome you all to today's event, and I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, sir. I do recall someone was once asked to give the keynote address, and he came into the place and said, "Thank you so much. I've been asked to give the keynote address. The address is Necker House. You are most welcome. Goodbye." Speaking of people who are speaking freely, one man used to speak so freely until he joined the government. And when he joined the government, he stopped speaking. And at a press interview, one of the other journalists asked him, said, "Sir, you used to be very vocal. How come? What happened to you? You stopped speaking." He said, "Don't you know it's bad manners to talk while you are eating?" Ladies and gentlemen, we had a panel of judges who decided the finalists, and it's very important for us to hear from one of them. And on that account, I'd like to invite the chair of the judges board, Professor Umaru Pate, to speak on this event.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our honorable chairman, good evening. I'm going to speak on behalf of the panel of judges that sought to select the winners and the finalists for this year. On behalf of the panel of judges for the selection of the 2019 Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism Investigative Reporting Awards, I wish to express our huge appreciation and generous thanks to the Center, its board of trustees, and management for inviting us once again to select the award winners for its annual prizes for investigative reporters. Individually and collectively, we cherish the acknowledgement and took the assignment with the highest sense of responsibility. Equally, members of the panel had asked me to appreciate and thank all the journalists that responded to the call for entries by submitting their works for the awards. The center received entries from all over the country and in all categories. This is a clear indication of acceptability for the award. It is also an indication of the growing interest and confidence in the awards among journalists in the country. Like in the previous awards, the call for entries for this year attracted diversified and huge number of entries. This year, the number increased, running into hundreds. So did the quality. Indeed, it was quite a task for the panel to arrive at definitive winners. But eventually we did. The panel was strictly guided by a widely acknowledged instrument, as well as the quality, relevance, and dynamism in each entry. Sufficient time, energy, and resources were devoted to accomplish the assignment. At the end, the panel picked entries adjudged to have satisfied most of the requirements listed in the instrument. Reasons were given to justify our selection of each of the winners in each of the categories. Overall, the panel commends the efforts, tenacity, and brilliance exhibited by each of the journalists that submitted an entry for the awards. Everyone did their best, even though only a few can win awards. The quantity and quality of entries for this year is an indication that despite all odds, risks, and challenges in the media sector, and particularly for investigative journalism, much is still being done by our dogged and determined journalists. An ethically guided investigative reporter is an asset to our democracy and nation, and it is our hope that the spirit will continue. While the panel is glad to have adjudged some of the entries highly, it will also wish to draw the attention of our journalists, particularly those wishing to clinch the Wole Investigative Reporting Awards, to please note the following. There is the need for improved quality of entries through deeper investigations, thorough editing, and professional delivery. Many of the entries were found deficient in those respects. Many of the entries raised very important and critical issues, but hardly uncovered anything new. These suggest that our investigative reporters need to do follow-ups on different dimensions for comprehensive investigations. In the photo and cartoons category, we need more action-packed and national relevant entries that can easily appeal to the imagination of all. Finally, the panel would like to reiterate its appeal for increased support from relevant and credible sponsors to back the various awards of the center. On behalf of the panel, I wish to congratulate all our winners and finalists, and to thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, sir. That's a brief charge on making sure that we take the game of investigative journalism to the next level. And I think one of the things affecting the issue of investigative journalism could be money. And speaking of money, I do recall that a woman actually had a dream that in her dream, she walked into the bank and got 2 bills of 50,000 naira each. So when she got back home, she spent money buying certain things. Then she woke up. And when she woke up from her dream, she actually found money on the bedside. She said, hey, so I dreamt and there was money on the bedside. Let me quickly go and spend the money on all the things that I want. She took the money, rushed to the market, bought everything that she wanted. When she returned, the husband said, did you see the children's school fees that I left by the bedside? Encourage me when I do well now. There are 2 types of awards for today, and the category awards for journalists who sent in entries have been assessed across various categories by judges: photo, online, editorial, cartoon, radio, television, and print. Honorary awards is the second category, and we have Lifetime Awards for Journalistic Excellence and Anti-Corruption Defender Award for those who have excelled in the media and in the fight against corruption, respectively. Commended works, we're going to have a certificate of commendation and a work tool. For runners-up, there will be certificate of commendation and 50,000 naira. I thought you would appreciate the center. And the winners will get an award plaque and certificate of commendation in addition to 100,000 naira cash. Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, Nigeria Investigative Journalist of the Year will get a glazed award plaque and 50,000 naira. You're not clapping because you had 50,000 naira. If you have had to receive 50,000 naira recently, sent to different people, pay 50 naira POS charge, you will know that 50,000 naira is a good money. The order of presentation, we will take the photojournalism, online, editorial cartoon, broadcast radio, and broadcast television. Then we'll go to print. Here, only the winner of each category make a brief statement. I'll go on to photo category now. Commended work. Ayodele Adeniro. Can we have him stand, please? Pupils lament pain, long trek in search of knowledge. Ayodele Adeniran's 5-photograph report published in Guardian on 16th January 2019 tells a visual story of school pupils in Lagos hinterlands and border towns who trek 3 to 4 hours daily through bushy and flooded paths to access the nearest school to their communities. Due to the absence of public school in the hinterland parts of Lagos and Ogun State. With pictures, the banking and finance graduate from Lagos State University documented the plight of the school children from Badagry, Agility area of Mile 12, and Makoko communities of Lagos to Giwa Okearo area of Aboru of Ogun State. Ayodele Adeniran's work is a sad illustration of the plight of public school students and their quest to get education and the need for more schools in remote areas. Ayodele Adeniran is hereby commended for his efforts. I hereby call on Mr. Gbile Oshadipe to make the presentation.
I see trees of green, red roses too.
Mr. Gbile, please wait behind for a few more
I
presentations.
see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself,
Thank you very much and congratulations.
what a wonderful world.
Another commended work, Saheed Olugbon.
Eyes of blue.
Saheed Olugbon is a photojournalist with Punch newspaper. The mass communication graduate from Moshood Abiola Polytechnic started his journalism career at the Nigeria Television Authority, Lagos. His photo, 15 years after retirement, struggle continues, captures the difficulty the retired employees of the defunct Nigeria Airways go through in the process of pension verification exercise by the federal government, which is a required step for accessing their pension benefits. Saheed Olugbon's picture reveals the poor fiscal and financial state of these pensioners who are plagued with various sicknesses such as partial blindness, stroke, diabetes, just to mention a few. For representing the true picture of many government retirees in Nigeria, Saheed Olugbon is hereby commended for his illustrative photograph. Mr. Gbile Oshadipe, please make the presentation.
The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, around the faces of people going by, and I see friends that shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They really
We're moving up to runner-up this time around, Odutayo Odusoya. With about 2 decades experience in street photography, visual and text journalism, as well as videography, Odutayo Odusoya, who currently works as a senior photojournalist with Punch newspaper, is a sterling journalist. Odutayo Odusoya took a tour of a town, Imoto Yewa in Ogun West Senatorial District of Ogun State, to do a visual storytelling of children forced into labor. His story, Child Labor, published in Punch of 8 November 2018, depicts how underage children of primary school age are subjected to menial jobs during school hours. The story reveals weaknesses in the enforcement of laws on child protection and survival and calls for thorough implementation of the Child's Rights Act, which Nigeria signed into law in 2001 to protect the rights of children to education, protection, and survival. Odutayo Odusoya was runner-up in the photo category of the 2015 Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting. He is honored today as the runner-up in the same category for capturing the reality of child labor in the country. I present Mr. Odusoya to Mr. Gbele Oshadepe for the presentation of awards. Commended work, and this is in the online category, Damilola Banjo. A graduate of Communication and Language Arts from the University of Ibadan, Damilola Banjo is a reporter with Sahara Reporters. Her 4-part serial, Bloodthirsty Demons of Zamfara, published between April 5 and 28, 2019 by Sahara Reporters, put faces to statistics on people killed in the ongoing banditry in Zamfara. It chronicles the suffering and loss of civilians and members of the armed forces that have scored out millions in ransom to have their relation returned or lost them forever. Following the publication, a protest which mounted pressure on the government to provide adequate security for the residents held. This led to the strengthening of community policing by the Zamfara state government. Damilola Banjo is hereby commended for the story in the online category of the 2019 Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting. I hereby call on Mr. Chiti Ogunye to make the presentation.
All of my life, I've been saying sorry for the things I know I should have done, for the things I could have said come back to me. Sometimes I wish that it has just begun.
The next runner-up in the online category is Chikeze Omeje. Please, a round of applause for him, Chikeze Omeje. Inspired by the announcement in May 2018 that Nigeria was conducting world's biggest HIV/AIDS impact survey to determine the actual number of people living with HIV in the country, Chikeze Omeje, head of news at the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, in Abuja, set out to confirm how the figures that have been quoted over the years were generated. Chikeze's report, Million Meant for Combating HIV/AIDS in Nigeria End Up in Private Pockets, published on December 28, 2018 by the ICR, is an expose into the mismanagement of funds for HIV testing in Nigeria. The story uncovered three fake firms that contracted by National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, for HIV testing services in 9 states of the country. Despite receiving full payment for the purported activities, the firms did not conduct the services but submitted fake reports to NACA. Chikeze Omeje is currently pursuing a Master of Science in Data Journalism from Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism in New York. His curiosity in exposing in government agencies in Nigeria resonates with the mission of this initiative. He is honored today as the runner-up for the online category of the 2019 Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting and is hereby represented.
Oh, the time to find a way, making record of stays while they watch TV. I didn't spend the time I should. Sim, I'm always there.
The winner, online category. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Isine Ibanga. How bribe-taking security operatives, gangs force Nigerians to pay dearly for food. Published 9th April and 1st May 2019. In the next edition of newspaper by Isine Ibanga is a two-part investigative report on the brazen illegality among security operatives on Nigeria's highways and how this contributes to the high prices of goods in Nigeria. Working undercover for weeks, Isine, who is the managing director of the next edition newspaper, obtained firsthand evidence of corruption and extortion of traders conveying food and livestock from the north to the south of the country by representatives of the police and army. Isine joined a truck from Yola to Uyo to determine the reason for the high prices of goods and livestock. On the journey, he counted a total of 154 checkpoints, mounted by different security agencies to extract money from traders. He discovered that traders conveying foodstuff and livestock between northern and southern Nigeria spend a minimum of 300,000 naira per trip for bribes to security operatives, thereby forcing traders to transfer the cost on ordinary Nigerians. The story led to the issuance of a police code of conduct on checkpoints and clamp down on illegal revenue collectors at checkpoints. Isine Ibanga, please appreciate him. Who emerged a runner-up in the online category of the 2014 edition of the award, is celebrated today as the winner of the same category. I hereby call on Mr. G.T. Ogunye to make the presentation.
I got lost, got off my way, and I guess there's nothing more to say. Love can make you blind, make you are so strange. I'm here I will stay. So every day I try.
I'm so glad this is paying off in very handsome measures. I got to know about this story from a trader because I live in Yola. And somebody told me about it, and then I started pretending to become an apprentice cow seller. And that was how I landed the story. We traveled almost 2 days on the road. And then at the end of the day, this. I think Nigerian journalists are some of the best in the world. The risk we take to uncover things, the sacrifices we make, what we see on the road. I was even arrested by immigrations for challenging them after they asked us for 1,000 naira. I said, these cows are Nigerian cows. All of us are Nigerian. Who are you going to collect bribe from? And then I was kept for hours on the road. Thank you very much, Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism. Thank you very much, Next Edition. Thank you, Nigeria.
He picked me up, knocked me off my feet.
You're very welcome, and thank you once again for all the works that you're doing. We move on now to editorial cartoon category. And for commended work, we're going to welcome on stage with a round of applause, Albert Oham. With a career spanning over 30 years, Albert Oham is the cartoon editor at the Sun newspaper. His cartoon, 13.5 million sitting allowance for senators, published on 29 September 2019 edition, calls attention to those in authority to the huge salary gap between teachers and senators. The cartoon satirizes the unequal pay system in Nigeria, where some politicians collect millions of naira as monthly remunerations, while workers and citizens struggle to gain a wage of 30,000 naira a month. Albert Oham was first runner-up in the 2012 edition of the Wole Award for Investigative Reporting and was commended in the 2014 edition of the award. He is hereby commended in the same category. I hereby call on Mr. Adeboye Ola to make the presentation.
But it's not as if a man that your heart ain't exactly breaking. So it's just a time. It's only a time. But if my life is boring and I don't learn to buy.
We need to really appreciate all these cartoonists, and I've seen some very nice cartoons by Nigerian cartoonists, and sometimes they make our day in the Nigerian dailies. So please, a round of applause for him once again. Radio category, commended work, Mary Abayomi Fatile. Please don't get tired of clapping because I will ensure. Hold on. I'm just encouraging you not to get tired of clapping because I will ensure that I rub your palms with some packs by the time you're leaving the hall. Mary Abayomi Fatile is a crime reporter with the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Lagos. The first of her 5-part investigative series, alleged police extrajudicial killing of Madam Basirat Akemushire, was aired on 10th October 2018 on Radio Nigeria. Following allegation of extrajudicial killing of one Basirat Akemushire by the Nigeria police for allegedly hoarding arms for criminals, Abayomi Fatile launched an investigation to unravel the real cause of Basirat's death. Although threatened, intimidated, and blackmailed, Mary forged ahead with her investigation to achieve justice for the dead. Her findings revealed that the deceased, whom the police declared was a gun runner, was arrested and tortured to death while in their custody. After her arrest, her family was prevented from seeing her for a long time before informing them of her death. For exposing the pathetic story of how citizens are routinely killed extrajudicially, Mary Abayomi Fatile is hereby commended in the radio category of the 2019 Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting. I hereby call on Mrs. Bimbo Oloyede to make the presentation. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. My name is Bimbo Oloyede. Here are the stories and reports we are tracking for you at the moment. Commended work in the television category, Samuel Wemimo Bukola. She's a broadcast journalist. A broadcast journalist is a news anchor with Television Continental, concerned about the rising cases of suicide in Nigeria. Samuel Wemimo embarked on a 5-month work to tell a story of triumph to counter the gloom that was being dangerously portrayed that suicide was an enviable option. Bukola's story, Depression and Suicide, aired on 1st September 2019 on TVC News, highlights the alarming rise of suicide with a critical look at depression as a mental health challenge that should be managed holistically. The story calls attention to other related issues such as stigmatization and criminalization of attempted suicide and the tragedy and triumph of victims' families. Bukola Samuel Wemimo is hereby commended for our report. Please, let's welcome Mrs. Bimbo Oloyede once again for the presentation. Thank you very much, Samuel Wemima. Runner-up category, television, we still have Sharon Ijason. Child rights, labor laws violated by Chinese companies. Sharon Ijason's two-part report, which aired on TVC News 16 and 25 June 2019, exposed the depressing exploitation of children by foreign companies. The story dug into an unearthed situation surrounding the death of 14-year-old Joseph Ekwenobe, an underage factory worker with Cheng Fa, a footwear company notorious for engaging children as workers in Lagos. A reporter, producer, and TV host at Television Continental, Sharon holds a higher national diploma in mass communication from the Nigerian Institute of Journalism and a postgraduate degree in the same field from Babcock University. With due diligence, Sharon discovered that the children are made to work long hours with poor pay, no breaks, and exploited to use faulty equipment. One of these caused the death of Joseph Ekwenobe. The story drew attention of the Lagos State Safety Commission, and the factory was inspected and sealed up. For being observant and brave in exposing the illegal activity until the relevant authorities paid attention, Sharon, who was the 2018 winner of the television category of the Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting, is being honored today as the runner-up for the same category. I hereby call on Mrs. Oloyede to make the presentation.
Moving on now, child labor and other unwholesome practices exist in many companies in Nigeria. This despite regulations by international labor organizations and child rights laws. Recently, the international community celebrated Child Labor Day to draw more attention to this issue, but not much is seen to have been done. Sharon Ijasa visited a footwear factory here in Lagos. It's called Chengfa, and that's where underage children are forced to work for 12 to 18 hours daily.
Thank you very much, Sharon Ijason. And thank you very much, Mrs. Oloyede. You may return to your seat. Thank you. We move on now to the print category. Commended work, Oladimeji Ramon. Trained as a veterinary surgeon, Oladimeji Ramon's burning passion and strong inclination towards journalism switched to become a judiciary reporter with Punch newspaper. His story, Lagos Mobile Court, where the innocent, guilty are sent to prison, was published in the Punch of 25 June 2019. The piece was prompted by his recollection of a statement by Mr. Tunde Ladipo, Controller of Prisons, now Correctional Service, on the congestion of the 5 prisons. Although the facilities have a holding capacity of 4,087 inmates, they house more than double that number, partly due to daily mass arrests motivated by Lagos State government's drive to generate revenue through environmental offenders. Oladimeji Ramon observed during a court proceeding at a mobile court in Oshodi, Lagos, that irrespective of the plea of all the defendants brought forward, the magistrate still ordered their remand in prison custody after routinely imposing a bail of 50,000 naira and additional 10,000 naira to be deposited in the court's registry. For his courage and tenacity, Oladimeji Ramon is hereby commended in the print category of the 2019 Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting. I hereby call on Professor Abigail Ogewezi Indisika to make the presentation. Runner-up print category, Chinwe Agbeze. In her two-part investigative series, Corruption Ruins FG's 7 billion naira Unity Schools security project, published in the Sun newspaper on 25 June and 2nd July 2019, Chinwe Agbeze uncovers massive corruption by Education Ministry officials in the implementation of the federal government's multi-billion naira project to secure Unity Schools against kidnapping and insurgent attacks. Chinwe Agbeze, disguised as a government official, and obtained the information that the Director of Finance and Accounts at the Federal Ministry of Education secured the contract to provide security gadgets in one of the Unity Schools, thereby contravening Section 57 and 58 of the Public Procurement Act 2007. She also found out from the 9 schools visited that only 4 had partially benefited from the security project. In an interesting turn of events, some of the projects had been completed by the time the reporter followed up on the schools. With a Bachelor of Arts degree in Linguistics and Communication Studies from the University of Port Harcourt and a postgraduate diploma in Mass Communication from the University of Lagos, Chinwe Agbeze is a finalist in a print category of the Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting for the 3rd time in a row. Again, Chinwe, represented here today, is being honored today as the runner-up for the print category in 2019 Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting. We move on now to the next print category, Samson Folarin. Just to remind you that the two of us have something in common with the son of our legal luminary who is here present. Daddy Falano, sir. I just wanted to remind you that the two of us are your children. The Folarin at home is the biological one. These two Folarin on stage are the adopted ones. And so as we are going home, just remember us. And please make necessary adjustments to your will, sir. A mass communication graduate of the University of Lagos, Samson Folarin, is a senior reporter and acting head of Metro Desk with the Punch newspaper. His work, Certificate, Plagiarism, Scandal Rocks Unizik, is a 9-part investigative report that was first published on May 23, which incidentally is also my birthday, 2019. The report revealed an academic fraud, intrigues, poor governance, and subterfuge involving Peter Ekwemezie, who masqueraded as a scholar for years. Peter Ekwemezie was found to lack the certificate he claimed to have and with which he continued to be promoted at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka. The investigation led to the sack of Peter Ekwemezie, and his PhD certificate was withdrawn after 9 years of cover-up and protection by the system. It has also led to the cleanup of the university system, with Peter Ekwemezie and the former Vice Chancellor being currently investigated by the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC. Samson Folarin's story depicts an individual's effort and determination in contributing to the restoration of sanity and confidence into our higher institutions of learning. He is today celebrated as the winner of the print category of the 2019 Wole Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting. That feels like Papilo. I know, say one day you go make us proud.
So short of words this evening, but I want to show my gratitude to the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism. I also want to appreciate my family, my wife, and my kids that are there with us tonight. I want to appreciate my editors who believed in me and supported me throughout this story. This is one story that I won't forget for a very long time because of what I went through writing the reports, the threats, the blackmail. In fact, at the point I almost gave up writing the story I was not so encouraged by the response of the institution because it appeared like they were determined to protect the man in question. I mean, for 9 years, imagine somebody with a proven case of certificate forgery and nobody did anything. In fact, the school was about promoting the same man to become an associate professor. Despite the fact that he didn't have a PhD, he didn't have MSc, he didn't have BSc. And, you know, but when we started our reports and we continued till the end, the school was forced to take a decision. And I'm so happy and glad today that I'm reaping the fruits with this award, which I will never forget. Because for 5-6 years, I've been applying to be shortlisted for this award. And I'm so glad that this being my first nomination, I'm winning it. Thank you so very much. I'm grateful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You are most welcome. It looks like you have something in common with the man whose story you reported. You are just as tenacious as the people you were trying to expose. Okay, some people didn't get that. I said he has something in common with the people he was trying to expose. He's just as tenacious as they were. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to a presentation on, or a statement on the inhibition of media and civic freedom in Nigeria, and that's to be taken by Dr. Chido Onoma, Executive Director of the African Center for Media and Information Literacy. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Dr. Chido Onoma.
I've no fear for atomic energy.